Part 2, y'all. This will be the People News without prejudice and without recourse. Alright? I'm not waiving any of my rights whatsoever. I'm not an attorney, so every time I say anything or do, it's just my opinion only. If you need to get an attorney, by gosh, go get one. Alright? If you can't handle your own affairs. Alright? What was the other thing? Never just look straight forward. Always look around you to be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Alright? Let's go ahead and proceed forward because these are long videos, y'all.
By the glossary of common child support terms, the American Bar Association approves 90% of child support provisions, not law, provisions and policies, ladies and gentlemen. Association means the American Bar Association and Illinois Corporation, incorporated on December 7th, 1992. You cannot hire a bar member to represent you, as there is a clear conflict of interest, as the bar member not only has an obligation to the court as an officer of the court, the bar member also is contracted to the OCSE, Office of Child Support Enforcement, through the American Bar Association. All right? Okay. A business, also known as an enterprise, agency, or a firm, is an entity involved in the provisions of goods and or services to consumers. Consumer Goods Protection Act, ladies and gentlemen. Businesses are prevalent in capitalist economies, where most of them are privately owned and provide goods and services to customers in exchange for other goods and services or money. What is the government, state, federal, local municipalities all doing? They're engaged in business. And when they're engaged in business, they're no longer acting as government, but are mere corporations and can be sued and are personally liable for their actions. Not only that, the Motu Proprio that was signed in 2013 by the Pope pretty much reversed the unum sanctum, basically dissolving all corporations. And if you know anything about this, you realize that everything was created at the Vatican. The U.S. military is the war machine, world police power, and England and Switzerland are the bank, all right? There's your three powers right there. And when you start to understand this scheme, when you start to really realize how this works, and you paid attention to what the Pope did. The Pope has so much power because he who creates is master, and the Vatican created the Pope through the principle known as the Vatican, identified as the Vatican, which the Vatican's not real. It's just a title, ladies and gentlemen. The Vatican is a political group of people that work underneath a name, okay? And they've done some immoral shit, obviously, but they created this system, and this system was corporations. So I was once watching an interview of a lawyer who had stated that, you can't hurt the dead. And I thought about it for a long time, and I'm like, he was laughing about it because people were hurt by the decisions being made in the courts. And there was a legitimate question of, how do you feel about the people that are hurt in this? And he said, you can't hurt the dead. Meaning, you're the one coming in there and volunteering to be that entity. Nobody made you do that. And if you don't know your rights, you have no rights. And because you're there voluntarily, you're volunteering information. You're alleging to be the name, which you can't be the name. And so now you're standing in a surety, but you don't understand your right to be availed. You don't comprehend your right to subrogation. And you stand in there as surety, and they place your body in a box to ensure that you're not killed while their bonds mature and those securities mature, so they can whisk them away after you abandon them. Anyway, off on a tangent there. Let's get back to child support and the scheme of schemes, all right? The CSE, Child Support Enforcement Agency, must charge an application fee, okay? That means that they're in business. They're not government. They're charging a fee for a service, which means they're in business commercially. They're no longer government. They never were government, ladies and gentlemen. Not to exceed $25 for families not on welfare, verifying they have customers and are a single and separate unit from the government. Case law. Clearfield Trust versus the United States, 318 U.S. 363, 369, 1943. Now, the reason I'm pointing out this date to you is basically after 1935, the judges all came together in a secret meeting and decided they were going to handle affairs a little differently. And it was going to benefit the public, which is not you and I as man and woman, all right? This court case is absolutely relevant. The U.S. Supreme Court stated, the government descends to the level of a mere private corporation and takes all the character of a mere private citizen where private commercial paper, notes, and securities are concerned. For purposes of suit, such corporations and individuals are regarded as an entity entirely separate from the government, which means they...
Okay, so we're going to pause there for a second, and I'm sorry for interrupting because this is really interesting stuff, right? Now, Title 28 USC 3002, 15 Section A or B, can't remember now, says it's a corporation. Well, that did not go into USC until 2003, 2006. I cannot remember that. However, y'all, it has been known that they started changing our government into a corporation back in 1871. 1871 was really a bad year of dismantling our United States republic. It's when everything started turning into corporation. You know, our Constitution used to say Constitution for the United States. Now it says Constitution of the United States. So, just so you know, since this case came out saying it's a corporation in 1941, but the USC title did not come out until 2003, 2006, something like that, saying it's a corporation, well, there, right there, says it was a corporation back in 1941 during the Supreme Court. Okay, so 1871 has been basically verifiable proof that it was a corporation then. Alright, sorry.
No longer have qualified immunity, and now they are personally liable for the harm they cause I, as a man, for their trespass by way of extortion, by way of debt, by way of theft, by way of fraud. The list just goes on. The trespasses are egregious, all right? And trespass leads to treason, okay? Breach of their fiduciary duty, breach of their oath of office, breach of the public trust, breach of commercial law, breach of commercial contract, breach of their own fucking policies. I mean, you just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on for days of the shit that they're getting away with because we're asleep at the wheel. Case law, United States.
I'm going to pause that again. Alright, y'all, for cop watchers and auditors and all that, quit using the Constitution. Alright? You violating my First Amendment rights? You violating my Fourth Amendment rights? No, they're trespassing upon you. Are you trespassing on the rights of my inalienable rights? I stand on the Fourth Amendment. Are you going to trespass on the Fourth Amendment? Yes or no? Trespass is actually a very powerful thing because in all actuality, most cops actually know what trespass means. Right? They're going to still think they have qualified immunity and this, and this, and they may or may not. Just depends how you do the paperwork, y'all. So we need to start using this trespass way more. And I said it on another video a while back. I had a brother went to court. The judge told the deputy or the court deputy to put him on arrest for attempt of court. And my brother kind of stuck his finger out and said, "Do not trespass upon me." And that, I'm tired, y'all. But the deputy in there stopped and looked at the judge, and he literally did not know what to do at that point. He's like caught in a catch-22 position. because he knew about trespass.
Versus Burr, 309 U.S. 242, the Supreme Court stated, when government enters into the world of commerce, okay, they are subject to the same burdens as any private firm or corporation. What does that mean? That means they can be sued and they can sue. All right? No more qualified immunity. Title 4D accepts private commercial paper notes in the form of $25, which are really FRN notes, and nobody can, to this date in the court, in all state courts that I've been to, nobody, although they're extremely sharp, I'm sure, after 7 years of law school, nobody can define what a dollar is. Ain't that cute? Nobody can tell me what a...
Okay, just try it out for theory, y'all. If you got a minor ticket and all that, just try it out. Well, you need to pay $230. Judge, can you define dollars? Because I have not found that anywhere. They can't define it. What species? You know, there you go.
FRN note is. I mean, I realize it's abbreviated, but, you know, what's your interest in me giving you somebody else's intellectual property in order to resolve said debt? Can you tell me what your financial interest is in the Federal Reserve Bank and the Federal Reserve Bank notes that are private property of a private corporation, privately owned and trademarked and copywritten? I just need an explanation, please. What's your innocent explanation for asking me for such a thing? How do I acquire it? Where do I get them? When did they get them? How do they make them? You know, who, what, when, where, why are your 6 best friends, and will kick ass every time. Okay, so Title 4D accepts private commercial paper notes in the form of $25 FRN notes, application fee for services it provides to the customer rendering Title 4D child support, a single and separate agency, not part of the government. And just to clarify here, we got to go back to Federal Reserve notes because I have so much fun playing with these guys. A Federal Reserve note is a future promise to pay. It is not, I repeat, it is not a payment. Okay. L, who is the persons depriving living men and women of their rights? Title 42 USC 654.3, single and separate unit, Title 4D child support. 2, Title 45 CFR 302.34 is the county's political subdivisions and their contracts and all the cronies that work for them, all the agents and agency from the Sheriff's Department, Police Department, they're all wrapped up in it, all right? The county attorney's wrapped up in it, the clerk of the court's wrapped up in it, like I said, the governor, they're all unjustly enriching themselves at your guys' peril, at your guys' suffering. And the reason I can use the word suffering is because you're volunteering. You're volunteering because you lack the knowledge, and it tells us in the Bible, my people shall suffer for their lack of knowledge, and that's exactly what's happening. And that's why I do these videos, to help you guys out. Because I really am sick and tired of reading the paper and seeing people commit suicide over false and fictitious claims that can be easily defeated if we could just get out of our mindset, our indoctrination, okay? Partnership between Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement is, in fact, in a partnership with the executive branch of every state, all 50 of them, ladies and gentlemen. This partnership is with the federal government and the state government under the executive branch. Then they created the Title 42 USC 654.3 and placed it under the executive branch, and then that separate and single unit, Title 4D, goes into Title 45 CFR 302.34, political subdivision counties. It goes into the political subdivisions and counties. So the sheriff signed on with 302.34, the prosecutor signed on with 302.34, and this is the contract.
And I have to agree with the counties, right? The counties have no say over the sheriff. It's we the people. The county's stolen your sheriff.
The proof of the contract is found in Title 45 CFR 302.34. Okay? What I'm giving you is the bullets to your Gatling gun. You just got to get the rust off that brain and be able to come in and articulate this. Okay? And if you can't articulate it, type it up. Read it. Study it. Send it off. All right? It's not hard. Freedom isn't free, ladies and gentlemen. It never has been free. If you believe that it's free, you live in the greatest optical illusion ever created by man. And that's the illusion of freedom being free. Freedom has never been free. You have to fight for it, all right? And how do we fight? What's the best way to fight? The best way to fight is to be sensible, to come in good faith, good reason, with good conscience, in order to find remedy. That's all we're here for. I'm here for remedy. I'm not an enemy, belligerent combatant of the United States. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm a man. I'm an ambassador of peace. I'm a bondservant of Christ, and I'm here to provide remedy. That's it. It's really, really, really simple. But in order to simplify it, you have to understand how this is working, because what I'm showing you, is just business, all right? Color of law. Color of law refers to an appearance of legal power to act that may operate in violation of law. What? Wait a minute here. That sounds like an oxymoron. I know legal and lawful, and I'm a legal and a lawful man. Wow, what a statement, right? Let me remind you something, ladies and gentlemen. Slavery was legal. What do you think about legal now, huh? Slavery was legal, all right? So all you people out there go, I'm legal. Just remember, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's moral, doesn't mean it's lawful, okay? You want to know how I'm prevailing in court, 13-0? A reasonable man of sound mind, able to articulate the difference between legal and lawful. Real simple, okay? Just bring forth the man or woman that I've caused harm, injury, damage, and loss to. I'm here today to provide remedy. I notice that the pleading isn't sworn to. There's no affidavit in tote or an affidavit that's been lodged to the alleged claim. It also doesn't have an independent bond to it, a hazard bond, in case of caused harm, injury, damage, and loss by somebody in here that may or may not. Notice I say may or may not be committing fraud upon the court, bringing false and fictitious claims under false and fictitious names, trying to ensnare me in their scheme. Huh? Yeah? You like that? Oh, they love it. They start shaking. You can hear their pocket change start shaking when you start talking like that, because they go, oh, stepped on a landmine. Every once in a while, they step on a landmine. And then they got to figure out how they can make it look legitimate and dismiss it without anybody else in the community waking up to the Ponzi scheme that's afoot. So color of law has an appearance of law, what is not, in most instances, law. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me help provide clarity for that. There are times when legal and lawful are in harmony, and you will even find it in the UCC. I don't have it off the top of my head, which is rather strange, but I've forgotten more than most people will learn, I can assure you that. And it's not to be cocky, it's just literally, you have to go back and reread this stuff, and it's subject to change. It may be UCC 1-103 one year, and 2 years from now it could be found in UCC 3-306. But not to subvert from what I'm saying. Legal and lawful. There are times that I agree with them, and even in the UCC, it will articulate to you how legal, lawful, the commercial, all shall be in harmony. And if they're not in harmony, and legal is ever in conflict with lawful, lawful will prevail. That's equity, ladies and gentlemen. What should be done shall be done, period. All right? It's not the form, but rather the intent, okay? So, my point to this, murder is illegal. Murder is also unlawful, all right? Letter of the law, spirit of the law. When they are conjoined in harmonious, that is the only time I agree with legal, because a man of sound principles could never argue the opposite, right? Murder is innately wrong. Throughout the world, it is wrong to, with intent and malice, cause somebody harm, injury, damage, or loss to the point where they lose their life, right? Okay? So, murder is wrong. And that's what I'm trying to get across to you. There are times when legal and lawful are in harmony. Man basically just takes God's law and twists it and manipulates it into their own words so they can say, we created this, it's patented, it's copywritten, you can't use that. Not without our authority. See how legal tries to commingle and give the resemblance of law, but it really isn't law? So they give themselves a little bit of legitimacy by using law and implementing it into their system. So let's get deeper. Color of law refers to an appearance of legal power to act that may operate in violation of law. For example, if a police officer acts with the color of law, Authority to arrest someone, the arrest, if it is made without probable cause, may actually be in violation of the law. Why? Because that man who sometimes acts as an agent and agency accosted me against my will, absent a victim, absent a crime, and violated my rights. I'm due restitution. I'm due an owing for the unlawful taking and theft of my time. And not only that, a trespass by way of extortion, okay, that has caused me harm, and the slander and defamation of character that has come of it because, well, let's just face it, 90% of American people see a cop arrested somebody and they believe they're guilty. Well, he must have done something wrong. Cop wouldn't just go around arresting people. Cop wouldn't go around just shooting unarmed people. Cop wouldn't go around just beating the shit out of people and using chemical weapons on people in their automobiles for not showing a license. Cop would never do that, right? Right. Glad you guys are still with me. So, another important point to make on my rant here is that if they state that they are operating under color of law, it is a complete contradiction to also state that they are doing things in good faith. Now, Title 50, 4305B2 tells us that when we do things in good faith, ladies and gentlemen, that we can't be accosted against our will and imprisoned for it. All right? Now, color of law has the appearance of law but is not law. And when I do things in good faith, it's my intent to be a lawful man, right? But if you openly admit to utilizing the color of law, which has the appearance of law but really isn't law, and you cause me harm, injury, damage, or loss, you're now personally liable for your trespass against I as a man. Okay? It's real simple. In other words, just because something is done with the color of law doesn't mean that the action was lawful. When police act outside their lawful authority and violate the civil rights, and we're going to get back to civil rights in a minute because of this. Remember, I was young when I wrote this up. I was young. Of a man, the FBI is tasked with investigating, all right? Well, the FBI, they're supposed to be investigating all this, but they don't, all right? They're too busy trying to cover up Hillary Clinton's scandals and Joe Biden's scandals and Joe Biden's son's scandals to really give a shit about doing what they're really tasked with, which is a job to keep the judiciary.
I'm going to bring up another thing between legal and lawful, all right? Now, cop detains you, but he said he's lawfully detaining you, all right? But he's legally detaining you, so he's covering his butt under the color of law because he's not lawfully detaining you, and he's not giving you first-hand knowledge of this value of detained. Detained is arrest. So it's color of law because they're using the color of words to arrest you because they don't have a warrant at that particular time. Terry versus Ohio, all right? That is the Supreme Court color of ruling, right? You can detain someone. They made the word up, detained. But other Supreme Courts also said detained is arrest. So they're using a color of law to arrest you because they don't have a warrant. And then they turn around and cover it with, it's lawful for me to do it. Mostly because they're just ignorant of it. Alright.
In line, and judges abiding by the Constitution, all right, and they're not doing their job. So we have to step up, all right? Enough pointing fingers. It's time for us to stand up and say enough. And how do we do it? We ascend to the mind. So, color of law does not mean that the action was lawful. When police act outside their lawful authority and violate civil rights are a privilege. I have unalienable rights. Civil rights are granted by the establishment. What I'm trying to tell you is I fucked up by writing civil rights there, okay? So note to everybody watching, I was younger when I put this together, thought I understood the words that I was using. But again, we lean into equity and we go, okay, obviously we're seeing his intent, where he's going with this. We know he's talking about his unalienable rights. as a man, okay? So that's the beauty of equity, but you have to have the eyes to see it, and that's where you're imploring equity, because the conflict of variance between the rules of equity and the rules of the alleged law, all right? The U.S. Supreme Court has interpreted the U.S. Constitution to construct laws regulating the actions of the law enforcement community. Under color of law, it is a crime for one or more persons using power given by a government agency, local, state, or federal, to deprive any right protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. Criminal acts under color of law include acts within and beyond the bounds or limits of lawful authority. Off-duty conduct may also be covered in official status is asserted in some manner. Color of law may include public officials and non-governmental employees who are not law enforcement officers, such as judges, prosecutors, and private security guards. Blessings versus Freestone overwhelmingly clear on the matter, not only of color of law, also definitively proving that there are no child support laws, but rather provisions, ladies and gentlemen. No laws, just provisions, okay? Provisions implemented for the benefit of the public treasury in each state. It has nothing to do with your offspring. For you people out there thinking that somehow the government cares about you, they love you, I got news for you. Everything they do is to deceive you, defraud you, and belittle you without your cognitive awareness. Okay? And about the time you figure it out, it's purposely written in different forms and languages and areas to make you look delusional and crazy, so no one will listen to you. My own family disowned me for a while over this stuff, guys. Oh, if you love your daughter, just take care of her, man. I'm fucking trying. Fuck. I'm building a company. I'm 4 years deep. Things are looking bright. No loans from a bank. I'm doing all right. Just need people to get off my ass. I'm doing the best I can with what I got. And I'm not on state benefits. And I'm not reaching out to the government for assistance. And I'm doing what I've always been taught. Never realizing that what I'd been shown and what I'd been taught was wrong. Wrong. 1933, the Banking Act of 1913. I mean, you go back to the 1800s, all the alleged debt, all the bankruptcies, when you start to really see that you were pledged as chattel, which means you're a freaking slave owned by the IMF, ladies and gentlemen. And if you accept it, then it is as such. When you know who you are, you have rights, titles, interests, dividends, derivatives, debentures, headments, general tangibles, general intangibles, trust, res, rents, rights, duties, and obligations. You have all kinds of stuff, chattels, securities, but only when you know who you are. All right. In positive law, Office of Law Revision Council, United States Codes, child support is not enacted into positive law. What's positive law, ladies and gentlemen? Let's just think about that for just a second, because it's important to comprehend. Positive law is something all nations respect. Positive law is this: murder is innately wrong. There's nobody in the world that can say murder is justifiable. Killing, on the other hand, is a different story, all right? Killing in the name of preservation of life, your safety, your family's well-being, justifiable. Murder, however, with intent to cause somebody else harm, injury, damage, or loss that is not a threat to you, is in fact wrong, and it's positive law that murder is innately wrong, okay? That's positive law. That's the best way I can articulate it to the layman so you can comprehend what positive law is and what it means. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Positive law. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Positive law. Thou shalt not steal. Positive law. Okay? Unanimously across the board, theft is wrong. It's fucking wrong. Period.
This is based off of Social Security. Everything is based off of security with the 4D program. So your Social Security is the magnet that is gravity to. Alright? Now everything that has to do with Social Security is not positive law. It's a totally different corporation. So the whole 4D program is not positive law.
I don't care how you spin it. Theft by taking, here's the legal version of it. Well, here's the lawful version. Theft by taking, right? and the legal version is stealing by taking, okay? And here's the difference. They've got theft by receiving. Well, if you received it and you didn't know it was stolen, are you really guilty of anything? No. The answer is no. But I see people go to jail all the time for it. Oh, I just recently saw a case. It was theft by receiving. And, the prosecutor goes, well, John Henry Doe Smith here did have in his possession at the time, the officers engaged him, one unicorn, and that unicorn was stolen from Miss Abrams on the night of, the 29th of September. And so we're also charging him the state would find that you find him guilty on theft by receiving. And the young man just sat there mute, and I was like, oh my gosh. He just slit his own throat and is volunteering to go to jail for something that he had no knowledge of. And you can see it in his eyes. He didn't object. He didn't assert himself. He didn't use his right to allocution. He didn't stand up and go, this is a false and fictitious claim with no verified claimant, bringing forward sworn testimony, willing to take the stand. I'm invoking my Sixth Amendment. I'm standing on the Sixth Amendment. I'm going to stand above it and under it and on it. I'm invoking the Sixth Amendment, my right to face my accuser, and you better bring him forward, ladies and gentlemen, or this case is dismissed. And if we proceed on as a trial de novo, you all know better than to bring a claim for which relief cannot be granted, not having a damn plaintiff. Get out of here with that shit, all right? I, as a man, am entitled to hear what another man has to say that caused him harm, injury, damage, or loss through my actions. And I, as a man, just want to provide remedy to that man. Can that man come forward today? Or is somebody in here a lying, looting, pandering pieces of shit bringing forward a false and fictitious claims using false and fictitious names without being independently bonded, not having an affidavit submitted on record supporting the claim being brought forward? Could it be there's a rat in the woodpile? And positive law. Office of Law Revision, Council of United States Codes, child support is not enacted into positive law. The term positive law has a long-established meaning in the legal philosophy, but has a narrow meaning when referring to titles of the code. Title 42 U.S.C. 1983, Civil Action for Deprivation of Rights, is positive law as it applies to every man and woman, okay? It applies to every man and woman. I don't use that. I would rather just go after them privately.
Dare I say it? 1983, right? It's still hard to sue anybody that caused you harm because it's qualified for immunity. Right? We got these laws saying they can't do these things, but this doctrine that's not even negative law, it's not even law, period. It's not even a color law. It's a doctrine. And giving out this qualified immunity like it's candy. And say, oh yeah, well you broke these laws, these positive laws. However, don't you worry. We need you to be good security guards, so we're